Well guys, it's new. I'm really happy today. As you can imagine, we recently learned that weapon swap speed as a stat is dead because there's no need for it. There's no more delay on weapon swap. I talked about weapon swap in the beginning before the game was even released. It was something that I was the most hype about, but that hype was utterly crushed when I found out that there was a really annoying delay that takes place when you use the weapon swap through all the tech, the different skill points that you can allocate in different ways. I had so many awesome ideas theoretically speaking, but the implementation was just clunky at best, and so I put it on a shelf until a later date, and we have now reached the later date. And today we're going to talk about some of the things that I've come up with recently, some cool ideas. I haven't really tested this enough to know for sure, but there are many things I can look at and test in the game right now with the clunkiness in mind that give me, a decent idea about what it might be like in the end in 0.3. Today I'm basically going to share with you guys what I'm thinking about rolling, the highest likelihood of a build, and that is going to revolve around the recent keystone that was displayed in the reveal, Hollow Palm technique. It's going to dramatically improve the efficiency, speed, clear, everything, especially early on before you are trying to get a really good weapon for monk or really any class. But this is all about quarterstaffs. And so I'm very familiar with quarterstaffs because 0.1, I played Flickerstrike, loved it. And so the idea of Flickerstrike with my bare hands is appealing to say the least. But I still really like spears and I love Twister. And if only there was a way to combine the two. So that's basically what this video is. We're kind of looking at possibly combining quarterstaff and spear attacks. And it just so happens that spears also have a really good keystone associated with them, Dance with Death. 25% more skill speed while your offhand is empty, and if you have one-handed martial weapon equipped in your main hand. This won't do anything in terms of a direct synergy with Hollow Palm. It just simply means that I can use quarterstaffs with Hollow Palm and without even using a quarterstaff on one end, and then weapon swap to spears without even needing an offhand. And so in order to do a total package, 2 separate archetypes, I need a grand total of 1 spear. That's all I need. Just a spear in order to make a highly functioning, fast attacking, in and out combat Twisters, Flickerstrike. Maybe there's a bell involved, maybe there's ice strike involved, which was a big favorite amongst a lot of people in combining all that stuff into one build. Now then, for the rest of the video, I'm just going to kind of walk you through some background footage where I've been testing weapon swapping, as clunky as it is in its current state. I've got a really nice replacement for the issue of Frostbolt that no longer chills ground. You see, we want the elemental twisters as soon as possible. That's 50% more damage multiplier to Twister effectively. And the workaround here is triple whirling slash followed by frozen locus. That's a spear attack followed by quarterstaff attack followed by the spear attack again, which is Twister. And so the Twisters cast straight into the chilled ground that's been created from the frozen locus, also destroying that, which then freezes enemies nearby, which makes them a lot less threatening for you, because if anything's right in your face, then that can be a bit of a problem, which also means ice bite support. Gain is extra 35% cold damage. That's the buff on the screen up there. It's very reliable at this stage and honestly made this part of the campaign a lot more bearable in terms of enjoyment. I really enjoyed this rotation. Took a second to get used to it, but again, it's basically just 3 whirling slash followed by frozen locust followed by Twister. And then moving around is also quite easy, which you'll see in a second here. It involves animation cancel. It's pretty fast. I know it's like a big deal for a lot of people, but anyway, you can just simply dodge roll out of a whirling slash followed by disengage, and that's got some decent movement behind it. And so essentially I'm in one of 2 modes. I'm either trying to maneuver around the map like this, or I'm in kill mode where I'm dropping the whirling slash, the frozen locust, blasting it in, ice bite, killing everything around, Twisters floating back and forth. By the way, this footage right here, 0 supports on Twister. So the next 2 support gems I would get, which come very shortly, soon after, or go to Twister, they'll do a lot more damage. Now showing you the red veil and the boss in here may be a little bit of a meme, it's very early content, but a lot of people want to know, how early does a build come online, and so this is how early it comes online. I mean, basically this is all the tech of whirling slash Twister with elemental twisters. This is as soon as it can. It'll be even less clunky than what you see here because there's no weapon swap delay. And I mean, just look how easy this makes killing this guy. I mean, my weapons, there's nothing special. They're like magic weapons at best. And so he spawns a bunch of ads. This phase is even easier because it now suddenly grants me Ice Bite, kills everything with Twister, which is pretty good single target, but its best case scenario is actually massive monsters and AoE around. And so you can kind of manipulate the terrain, the environment. You can move enemies into tighter corridors. It's actually kind of high skill cap, even at early on. It's really fun to practice. So I highly recommend anybody to practice this combo here right now. You can do it. It works really well. Alright, I don't want to bore you too much with the early game, so what about the late game? I mentioned Flickerstrike and Twisters. What does that look like? It looks like whirling slash, triple whirling slash around, move as much as I want. If there's a monster alive on my screen, I can Flickerstrike, use the power charges that I got while I was messing with Twister through Profane Ritual as cast on crit there. While I'm power charge Flicker striking, I get frenzy charges through Combat Frenzy. Quite intuitive, actually, the back and forth action between the two. Absolutely badass. And as far as mobility... maybe a bit overkill, actually. Here's a thought. Why not bells on Twister? We gotta wait for Twister. I got salvo support, I got barrage, there's a cooldown on that. What am I gonna do in that dead time? Well, I could cast bells. I could use Ice Strike to get combo points, cast a double bell, and then while barrage and salvo are coming back, put the Twisters down. The Twisters are all hitting the bell, expiring those as fast as possible. Really nice for single target. I know that's just a map boss, but you get to see at least what it looks like. Even out in the map like here, I can still effectively do the same thing if I come across a hard boss. I think this could be fairly applicable, at least early on when your gear is kind of suffering for the content that you're doing. Having that bell down and getting Twisters banging into it, getting a lot of extra damage and ailments out, maybe with Invoker that would equal, you know, elemental grounds too, which would further help with getting the elemental Twisters. A lot going for it. Okay, I've got one more to show you, and what you're looking at here is Tornado Shot Twisters. So in this case, because salvo support doesn't synergize well with this for whatever reason, it only takes copies of the barrage Twisters, I'm essentially trying to replicate what it would feel like to run Deadeye with Twisters and Tornado Shot. Now keep in mind this is done on Amazon, which means I'm getting way less impact out of my frenzy charges, fewer Twisters on the field, which is going to come to a surprise when you're about to see how many Twisters are get on this boss fight. But yeah, there's still that downtime, and what this helps is that you no longer have to wait on salvo because barrage support is locked behind salvo in terms of cooldown. So if you drop salvo, you get to actually cast Twisters more often. You spawn even more Twisters because they're split 3 different ways. They do less damage, but their total sum damage, because there's so many Twisters, is actually much higher. You get ailments out way harder, you get stuns out way harder. The boss gets completely drowned out by Twisters even on a large arena, and again, keep in mind there would be even more than what you saw here because it's not actually a Deadeye. And so that's going to be pretty cool. And I'm not necessarily going to run this build. I'm leaning more towards Invoker, Hollow Palm, Quarterstaff stuff, but I figured I'd throw this out there. It was something I experimented with. It was a little bit clunky here in this showcase. However, all that clunkiness is removed, and so I think some of you might want to take a stab at Twisters with Tornado Shot swap. It would leave an opportunity to use other bow skills as well, potentially, that I hadn't even gotten around to thinking about yet. Alright guys, well that basically concludes the video. As you can see, the cooking has begun, and it will continue for the next week. I will be streaming online, looking at all kinds of different stuff, testing things, league start testing, looking at different combinations, probably wishing I could test Hollow Palm while I have to wait on it, and sprint and stuff like that. There's a lot to be excited about, but for me, the number one is weapon swap. I know it might surprise some of you. Is there anybody else out there crazy enough to put weapon swap at the top of their list for the new additions to 0.3? Let me know if that's you. Let me know what cool ideas you have. All kinds of different archetypes I ain't even explored at all, like spells and, you know, slams, and I just make my home on the bottom right hand side of the tree. So especially if you have a suggestion for that section, please let me know in the comments down below. We'll see you in the next video.